Elon, if you keep firing people, you're going to run out of employees. Just one second, guys. So, what you need to do is just sort of settle down, figure out who you need, what you're going to do. And, well, you know what? We'll talk about this later. I got to do this. So, hey, guys, welcome back to the channel. So, Elon keeps firing more people, and it seems like the leaks keep on it coming. Let's take a look at this. This headline's really funny. The only thing Elon understands about Twitter is how to kill it. This is kind of an editorial one. I just kind of skimmed through that one, but you know, the basic gist of it is I think this is an interesting discussion, especially if you're into management or business. You're just trying to learn how the world works, and we don't usually get this kind of inside look at companies. Not like this, not in real time. Usually, you know, you'll hear about this a little bit in the news, and then like you know, a year later, you'll get these sort of books that come out and like expose everything, but to see this in real time is really fascinating. So basically, Elon was firing a bunch of sales staff over the weekend. And this is kind of alarming. The first thing I was thinking about with this stuff is, and I know there's a lot of like Tesla pumpers and Elon, you know, fanboys and part of the cult, is you should be concerned if he's spending all this time at Twitter and, you know, less time at his other companies. And this is something I warned you guys about before is regardless if you think Elon is the smartest guy, richest guy, the most awesomest guy in the world, there's only 24 hours in a day and you got to sleep a little bit, right? And so every moment you spend at Twitter means you're not at Tesla, you know, talking about robots or talking about your Cybertrucks or doing anything else that you need to be doing. And I think that's a problem. And for me, I just find it so fascinating. I think a lot of this is a bit of pride, which I understand, right? It's all in the public now. And now he started it and he kind of feels like, you know what? I don't want people to shame me. I'm going to make this thing work no matter how much money I lose and no matter how many people I fire. Let's read some of the details, though, together. So Elon Musk has laid off more Twitter workers from sales side of the social network's business beginning late on Sunday. So it's on a weekend. He sends these emails on weekends and like at midnight for some of these things. It's kind of funny how this thing works. Further trimming, so I mean, and I'm thinking out loud, that means he can't sleep. I'm sure that's exactly what it means. Further trimming staff had already been decimated by cuts and resignations. Last week, Musk asked workers to commit to the more, quote, hardcore, remember we talked about this, he wants people to work hardcore for him, hardcore version of the company or leave, and that was Twitter 2.0. Sales employees signed on to his vision in greater numbers than workers on the technical side. So they had too many salespeople, not enough engineers, etc., and the balance wasn't right. Which saw mass resignations according to people familiar with the matter. Musk is using the cuts to balance out the remaining staff, said people who asked not to be identified. So this is all eternal. So we're getting so many leaks that we usually don't get from companies. This is why this is so fascinating. Twitter sales organization held an all-hands meeting on Sunday with Musk and new head of sales, Chris Reedy. Two people said, so remember, a lot of their people keep leaving, so they keep announcing new people. So there is opportunity for people who stay. That is true, because some people mentioned in comments, and I agree with that. If you're willing to put up with Musk and you want a job and you want money, which is not crazy, there might be opportunity. I will say, though, is that if you feel like, for the people that left, if you feel like that your skills are worth a lot of money and you don't want to take abuse and you can find something else somewhere else, go for it. The grass could be certainly be greener. And this is something to where, for people out there, always know your value, know your worth, and know where you are in the marketplace in terms of jobs. And also, too, don't overcommit yourself financially, and you're able to be more free to not have to take these abusive jobs. There's nothing worse, and I've mentioned this before, there's nothing worse than like, you know, essentially having a ball and chain of you know, financial things that you have to take care of, and then you're forced to take abuse at your job because you can't leave, right? So a couple things going on: have the skills, and also, you know, position yourself to where you're free to pursue things that you want to do. What else we got here? So more. Oh, report. Yeah. So we talk about more cuts are coming. Musk used the time to come on Sunday. Yes, Musk used the time to talk about ongoing updates, talking about Twitter, including his decision to reinstate account of former President Donald Trump. That's actually kind of interesting because the way they state it here, and this is sort of the way it was on Twitter as well, is it made it seem like this was a unilateral decision to reinstate Trump on the platform, which is kind of weird because before Musk kept going on that they were going to have like a council, and they're going to do this like a group thing, but he's just like, hey, you know what? I'm the CEO. I can do what I want, which is fine. But it's weird if you're saying ahead of time that you weren't going to be like that. Do you guys see what I'm saying? And so then at the meeting, he's like telling everyone this is why we decided to do that. He also explained that the company needed to make ads more targeted to particular users. And I think this is an interesting thing to understand social media companies, how the idea is you're using people's data to then put ads that are targeted to them. And you guys understand this with any kind of free service. It's not really free. You are the product. And that's the trade-off that you make. So the need to figure out can we focus ads more. And then the other issue too, as well as with the ad business, is yes, you want users on your platform, and then you use that data to sell it to advertisers and say, these are the times that people come on our platform. These are the demographics that people come on our platform. Please advertise here. So, he's trying to figure out a way to get this ad thing to work. Remember, ad companies are leaving, though, is a thing. There was no mention of layoffs during the meeting. And then actually what they ended up doing was sending out a email, right? So they had the meeting on Sunday, which is kind of a weird time to meet. It's on a weekend, like all hands meeting on Sunday. I just laugh because like there's all these people out there that say, oh, you got to work hard, you got to love Musk. So I'm all about working hard, guys. I really am. I stress that on the channel. Work hard, be amicable so people like you. But it's the way it's being run right now at Twitter. They just keep firing people, and he's sending out this midnight emails, and then having like these everyone's got to come to meetings on Sunday kind of stuff. It just must be really, really stressful over there at Twitter. I can't imagine it. And then you get the email and it says your role at Twitter. So that's be the subject is when you're gonna get fired. And that's what the email said. After further review of our workforce, we have identified roles within our organization structure that are no longer necessary. Today is your last working day at the company. Oh, God. Signed Twitter. So that was the email that you got. Today is your last working day at the company. Could you imagine that kind of email? And when you guys read this stuff, I laugh. I want you to put yourself in people's shoes, right? And also, too, just imagine you have bills to pay and you get this crazy email, like you're fired kind of thing. It's just really impersonal. It's happening everywhere. And, it's interesting because there was a comparison here to Musk and sort of how the newspapers were failing and trying to stay afloat. And if you guys remember having the newspapers, I don't even know the last time I bought a newspaper. I probably haven't bought a newspaper for like, I don't know, 10 years or something like that. But it is kind of like that. And there was a great summary for those of you who are just sort of picking up on the story of all the crazy stuff happening at Twitter. We'll go through it, but it's a great summary of it all. In the first 3 weeks after Elon Musk took over Twitter, the 51-year-old billionaire fired top executives, instituted sweeping job cuts, lost major advertisers, discouraged remote work, instituted more extreme productivity expectations, and they refer to that as being part of the hardcore Twitter and hardcore work ethic, that kind of stuff. They use a phrase hardcore. Offered buyouts to employees, meddled in the editing process, and warned of potential bankruptcy. So these are all of the things that are going on. And that's a great summary of like how crazy this is. And this is why we're following it, because it's just so unusual. Seen one way, the series of events is extraordinary and unprecedented. The world's most successful technology entrepreneur buys one of the most influential social media companies, quickly sabotages some of its best qualities, and drives out much of its brightest talent, seen through different lenses. Musk is just the latest wannabe media mogul, torturing his new plaything. The one thing I want to mention too is with all these people being fired and stuff, and we've hinted at it, and we've talked about it with the H1B, but basically foreign workers who can't leave, because if you leave, you essentially have to leave the country, right? Because you're not a U.S. citizen. And for those of you who aren't aware, there's a lot of foreign workers in the tech industry, the H1B. And so I think this is something that is worth illustrating, and also something I mentioned to you guys several times. There was a lot of Americans that complained that there's no jobs, and it's just simply not true. We need to get more, if you're American, you get more people trained to be the jobs that are there. And this is just an example of we need a lot of foreign workers because we don't have enough Americans to do these said things. I want to read through some of the description of what's going on with some of these workers, and it is really quite stressful for those of you who are watching who are on H1B. I'm sure you completely understand what's going on with this thing, but people don't. It's good to go through these things. So the tech industry has long relied on the H1B Visa program to meet its need for workers in specialized fields such as computer science and engineering. And so that's why I said, if you're an American and you want a job, go into computer science and engineering. There are jobs there. And in the situation we have now, I mean, they're going to be looking for people like you. So Amazon, Lyft, Meta, Salesforce, Stripe, and Twitter have sponsored at least 45,000 H1B visa workers in the past 3 years. Reports compiled by employees at Meta and Twitter indicate the latest round of job cuts at those two companies alone affected 350 immigrants. And then they have, we'll just read it here. H1B holders who become unemployed can remain in the USA legally for only 60 days without finding new employers to sponsor them. So it's pretty tough. You get fired, you got basically 2 months, or well, I mean, more specifically, you got 60 days to find something, or you got to leave the country. That's essentially how this works. And it seems like I mean, that seems a bit unfair. I could see 90 days maybe more fair, but I'm curious your guys' thoughts on that. Because if we indeed do have a highly skilled worker, and for whatever reason, like say the Twitter situation, you fire them, and you want to keep the skilled worker in the country. 60 days seems kind of short. I can understand a year would be too long. It's probably too long, but 60 days seems short. I could see 90 days if they wanted to extend that. And I don't know if you can extension. Anyone who is having any friends are on H1B or on one right now themselves, please comment how your experience is going, because I do know there are freezes in hiring at the major tech companies. So I think now would be a really tough time, especially like I said, if you're on the H1B. We could keep going through this here. Many people with H1B visas have been living in the USA for years, waiting permanent citizenship, right? So we're talking about people who are going to become Americans, and also too, if you guys may not know, I was born in Vietnam, and I became a citizen much later in my life, and I have a story that I tell about that. You can see it in my BuzzFeed video if you haven't seen that. But I think this is America to attract top talent from around the world, and encourage them to stay. I don't think that's a crazy thing to say, and I think this is one thing that makes America great. Is to, I mean, essentially you're stealing talent from other countries, but you're attracting the best and the brightest. Now they're frantically searching for jobs, along with thousands of other tech workers in newly competitive labor market. So, right, some have mortgages, student loans, children in school, and everything where everyone is freezing hiring. And the last thing I want to talk about too is sort of their wages. A lot of these people are actually from India, which is one of the countries that has a lot of these kind of workers. And in fact, percentage-wise, Twitter was around 9% of people on the H1B, and then you can see Meta and Lyft had a lot more. I didn't realize Lyft had so many compared to other companies, and Amazon's up there as well. This doesn't have data for like every single tech company, but this is just some of the tech companies, just to give you a rough estimate of how many H1B workers there are out there. So that's why they were saying when 75% of the workforce left Twitter, much of those people, many of those people were H1B. So that means, like, we'll say 10% were, couldn't really leave Twitter, and then maybe 15% that are still at Twitter, maybe actually believe in it, or for whatever reason, So that's why when people say, oh no, those people over at Twitter all care about the dream and message, not necessarily. Some people actually can't leave. And the pay for some of these workers, the H1B, you guys can see this here. If you're a software engineer, like say Lyft, Meta, Twitter, you can see the salaries up there. They're roughly around 175 or something like that. Now, it does seem high, and yes, it's a good salary, but also be aware that we're talking about people who live in the Bay Area, which is really expensive. I kid you not, it's really expensive. And for people who live out there, you can certainly share what you think is a livable salary out there. Now, I'm not going to say 175 is a bad salary. I'm just saying it is really expensive. And yes, there was a really interesting, because I'm sure this going to go there. And I actually wrote an article about that. I want to say a year ago, last year, or maybe 2 years ago already, sharing my thoughts. And among foreign friends, it was really an interesting discussion. But the question is, if I get paid, 175 or 200 in San Francisco, and then suddenly I can go remote, shouldn't I be able to still keep my 200 salary? And that has been a debate for quite a long time. And obviously, people want to be able to live the dream, right? You live in wherever you want. You can live in a cheaper place in USA. Even just moving to able to say, for example, I don't know, Indiana. Just for example, your cost of living there might be 1/5 of what it is in San Francisco. And you still keep your job, or you move to another country entirely. Like these days, Bali would be a popular place, and essentially live on the beach, do your tech work on the computer, do your Zoom chats and these kind of things. And I mean, you can do really, really quite well. And so that's been a debate, because in my opinion, right, you're paying for the talent, not necessarily paying for location. Now, I have had friends though that have had jobs in various cities, and their company has said, if you move to San Francisco, we'll give you a pay raise, but if you move away, we'll decrease your pay. So it's like location-based pay is the sense of it. But anyway, I just want to share all those things with you. We'll keep updating the Twitter thing. We just don't get that many, inside look at this kind of stuff so often. And again, Musk is firing more people. He's trying to target ads more, and we'll see if he can keep this company afloat. So love to hear your thoughts on all of these things that we talked about. Thanks again for watching, and catch you guys in the next video.